Hello and welcome to Athletic Therapy Now, a podcast for athletic therapists by an athletic therapist. My name is Ashley Burr and I will be your host. Thank you for joining us today. Hello and welcome to Athletic Therapy Now, Season 1, Episode 9. Today we are talking about the importance of referrals and the ripple effect of referrals. Today we have our guest, Nikki Smith. Nikki is a certified athletic therapist, owner, and founder of Revolution Rehab, a mixed therapy physical rehab clinic in Winnipeg. If you want to hear more about Nikki, she's been a guest on a couple of other podcasts, so you can take a look at episodes 2 and 4. Thank you for joining us today, Nikki.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. So, we've talked about this a lot in the past, and we've talked about how this would be a really fun podcast to do. What's your opinion on the importance of a referral?
In a nutshell, referrals for my business, my clinic, and myself it's our bread and butter. That our business runs on referrals. And I told you just before we started that I went into the system and grabbed a couple numbers, uh, so that I wasn't lying about it. And I took a look over the last 366 days. Um, we have had just over 50% of our referrals specifically come from family and friends. So I can tell you just word of mouth has been the biggest thing that sustains my business.
Okay, yeah, I totally agree with that. I'll look back at a week or a month throughout my schedule. I use JNapp, so it's easy to look through that. And I'll notice that the majority of my clients are referrals other sources, from other sources and other sources. And the really cool thing is that some of those referrals started 10 years ago. So the initial referral source is as I was coaching gymnastics or volunteering my time to be a therapist for football teams or things like that. And it's so cool to see that ripple effect. That's your term, Nikki, is the ripple effect. And what it looks like in the end. I have clients that I see now where they were referred from a client who was referred from another client who was referred from another client, and so on and so forth, where like that chain is like 10 people long. And it's so cool to see this chain or web or tree or whatever you want to call it. And so I think it's so important to remember that Winnipeg, especially, is such a small place. And every single encounter we have with another person, be it an athlete, a coach, a parent, a friend, a relative, all of that has an effect on the referrals for our business. Um, which do you have anything to add to that, Nikki?
Well, I was just sorry. I think about that referral because you have your initial referral, which we can both go back to, we'll say field in our practicum days, so 10 plus years ago, right? And then that referral, so let's say an athlete, and I have a specific chain in my head here actually. So that athlete then, let's say a couple years later, that their parent ends up in your clinic because they have an issue and you're familiar, so they see you. And then the next thing you know, they're sending a coworker. And then that coworker now sends a family member and a friend. So now you have this referral chain that has now become a referral network as it starts to branch out. And I think we really underestimate the power of what that will do to keep food on your table in the end.
Yeah, I have a really funny story that I share with students all the time. A family member of mine, was is part of a sporting community. I'm being vague on purpose, obviously. And so I'm talking with a client of mine who's talking about this Christmas party that they were going to. And then I'm talking with this family member the next day, and they're talking about this Christmas party they're going to that night, or the Christmas party they just came from. This sounds oddly like the exact same Christmas party. And so when I get back to clinic and seeing that client, I start asking her questions about my family member and show her a picture because Fia, I can't ask my family member, so I have to ask the client. And she goes, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, they're on my team." And so,
Winnipeg is so small.
so small. And so they played a trick on my family member. Let's say there was, 8 people sitting at this table on this team, and they're chatting, and my family member says something about an injury they have, and then this client of mine is chatting and with the family member and the person beside them. They're like, "Oh, you should totally go and see our athletic therapist." Everybody at the table knows that I'm related to this person. And so they're all like in on this. And my family member thought this was just a huge like setup and didn't believe them. And so it was so funny. And so the client points out, she goes, "Well, I see Ashley, and this person sees Ashley, and this person sees Ashley." And there was like 10 people in this room that I've seen, and not all of them were referred from the same person. Um, which is just blows my mind and is so funny, to see that network of referrals in this tiny community of a sport. There's my fun referral network story.
News travels, good news and bad.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
On, on that, that train of thought, it makes me think of somebody who came in the other day who 2 different people referred them my way, and those 2 people didn't know each other, right? So it was like that referral chain turns into a referral network as it branches out and then continues to branch, and now you're in a network, and then all of a sudden this one person is asking friends, family, coworkers about a therapist who will say help with back pain, and one person on one end of the network recommends me, and then another person on the other end of the network recommends me, and that for me I think was like an 8 to 10-year process to like go from network to now I call it a referral web where now everything is interconnected. But that is
yeah,
a really cool feeling to know that more than one person has recommended you and they don't know each other.
yeah,
That's cool. That's really neat.
yeah. I have a client that happened with a couple years ago, and their mother had referred them to me, and she was friends um with my mom, and then their girlfriend referred them to me, and she was friends with a colleague of mine from another job. And and so it's just so funny to see those like duplicate referrals, um, when they haven't had that conversation with each other. So
Yeah. Do
the
you find
the
you get sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, it's such a small world here, and it's so important to remember that every source is a good referral.
And I think there's pros and cons, right, to living in a smaller city. A pro is this, you can really create that good networking web between all of the folks that see you, and the bad one is that you can't flip anybody off when you're driving because they could be your client the next week. So, but I do think we really underestimate, especially from the start, planting those seeds, understanding or because it's having a belief in the process that you plant the seed and then it's going to expand out from there. And when I quickly take a look at the numbers from Revolution for the last year, like I said, 50% plus of our referrals have come from family and friends. That's a like quick glance. It's probably more, but um, the next one is actually our street sign and online and social media, which I just kind of group in my brain as just like the face of your company, right? Just the image, the face of your company that people might happen to see. So that was currently at 32% of our client base coming in, referral base coming in is from just those sources. And then right now we're at about 12% from other professionals. So I was curious to know, when you look at your referral sources, do you find that you get more from friends and family, or is that comparable to other professionals referring people your way?
I haven't sat down and looked at the numbers, but when I do look, it's typically from somebody who's been a client or is currently a client. Rarely, shouldn't say rarely. I get a lot of referrals in the clinic, and I get some out of clinic referrals. But again, I would say, without actually looking at the numbers, probably 75% of my referral base is through past clients, past or
Yeah,
current clients.
I I actually thought ours would be around there, and when I took a look this morning, I was actually really surprised um, that we had so much coming from, I would say, off the street. Like, you're in my area, I've seen your street sign, but I can tell you that for the first 5 years, none of that worked. It took at least 4 to 5 years for people to even realize we were there. Like, they just didn't see our massive 30-foot wide sign. So
Mhm.
we got started on friends and family.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think the cool thing about that is, it becomes, like you said, this mixed web or network. And so when you get a referral, it's not necessarily like, if I go to Joe next door and I say, "Hey, go and see Nikki," they won't necessarily take that to heart and go and see you. But if I say it and all of a sudden they see a social media post or they see your sign, like, they need multiple interactions with that and typically multiple referrals before they'll actually go and do it. And so when you say, is it family and friend referral, or is it other professionals, or, like, I think it's hard to say that it's just one, because I do think that it's a multifactorial network and multifactorial referral.
yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think too that we actually, so it's really no segue into this. We had, hang on, let me collect my thoughts. Interprofessional referral also makes a huge difference. And I think therapists, new or seasoned, I think sometimes we get apprehensive about referring out to other professionals because, well, none of us can help everybody as much as we would like to. And I think that within that idea of building a referral network, it's not only about what kind of network can I build for me and my business, but also how can I help other professionals. The base of that is how can I help the client, but it ends up helping other professionals, which I can tell you in turn will also end up helping you. It's a it's a bit of a roundabout process, but it creates trust in the client. And here's the example. We got an email from a client who has been seeing me for years and years and years and years. They'll injure something and then she comes in, we go through a treatment and she's good. She's got her homework, great results, she's happy, she's gone. A year or two later, she comes back, she's done something else. We go through the process with that injury, it gets better. She came in a couple weeks ago for something else, and we did one appointment, and then I had her follow up very soon within the week for the second appointment. And I said, I'm not the therapist for you. this is who I would recommend you see, and this is actually a therapist I've seen. I trust them with my body because I know she was very apprehensive. And she went and saw that therapist, thank goodness. And we got an email yesterday saying she's pain free and she's just singing our praises. I'm not the one that helped her, it was the other therapist, but she's singing our praises because we understood. I understood my limits as a therapist, and I'm willing to trust other therapists to help people, especially when I can't. So, but next time she gets injured or somebody else gets injured, my business Revolution is going to be the name that's going to pop into her head because I've created that trust, right? So I think that that interprofessional referral, and I know you agree with me on the interprofessional thing, is really important. And I think we're too afraid to release clients and let them go and try other therapists and work in conjunction with other therapists. And it's actually very beneficial for the client and for the therapist when we do that. What do you what are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I do completely 100% agree with that. I talked about this a little bit with Lindsay on the podcast, episode 7, when we were talking about collaboration and toxic professionalism, because we seem to have this scarcity mindset, like we if we refer a client on, we're never going to see them again, or we're not going to have enough income, or we're so concerned about our finances that we're scared to refer them out, is what it seems like. When in reality, like you said, that client's always going to come back to you because now they're going to trust that you are going to guide them in the right direction. You'll see them when you need to see them, and you're not going to hold on too tight, because I think if we hold on too tight, that's when we start losing our clients. But if we refer out when we know we need to refer out, they're going to have that increased level of trust with you. And Heather, so on my pelvic health course, with Jenny Telfer Crum, we talk a lot about collaboration. And one of the things Jenny likes to say is there's enough vaginas for everybody. So just like that, there's enough bodies, there's enough hips, ankles, knees, right? Like there's enough people in the world. We don't need to hold on to our clients too tight. We can let them
Yeah.
go. We can refer them on. We can, and when I say let them go, I'm not saying, go away, never come back. But allowing them to make that choice and build that trust with them.
Yeah, there are definitely enough injured folk to go around. And I
Mhm.
think when we get possessive over clients, we're missing what our main job is as practitioners. And that's,
It's like a bad
yes, we
relationship.
it is like it's toxic. I can't get out of it. Yeah, we understanding that if you have the client's best interests at the forefront of your mind, not I need to make a dollar off this client, then the business part will come, but the client has to be the priority, and the referral and the network and the creation of that genuine relationship. When that's the priority, then the income will be there. Because essentially, what is business? It's solving people's problems. You're getting paid to solve people's problems. So if you're getting paid and somebody's coming in and you can't solve their problem, refer them out. You're still helping solve their problem. So yeah, that's my thought on that.
Yep, I feel that.
Just looking at
Um,
my notes here. Nope, nope. Continue.
okay.
I thought I had
So
something else, but
that's okay. Um, we'll move on to the next kind of thing I wanted to talk about, which is, what is one action item that therapists can do to obtain their next referral? What's an action item you would recommend?
it's hilarious. That was my note, and I wasn't understanding my own writing. Something practical, which is really the reason people are listening to this. Okay, so I was thinking about this morning, and something that um, I'm going to cross a little bit into marketing because referral and marketing go hand in hand. It's very hard to separate these things. But quick adjacent, marketing 101 this day and age is no longer about saturating the market with your brand. I believe that marketing now is about providing a value first, then asking for the referral, or then telling people to come and see you. It's very hard to convince somebody now. There's a lot out there. So it's very hard to convince somebody now to come see you if you have not essentially proven yourself. Just saying you can help, people are hearing that all the time. So as an example on how we implement that in the clinic, provide value first, then ask for the referral, is when I have a client who, we've gone through a round of sessions and it might be 2, it might be 10, whatever. And they give me the, I feel so good. And basically we're at the point where I'm discharging them, releasing them to the wild. And at that point I will say, "Thank you so much. I'm so happy to hear that. Please tell your friends and family about us because it is literally what pays our bills." So any of our therapists will tell you that I'm very specific to not just thank somebody or say, "I'm happy to hear that," but I always ask for the referral at that point because I've already provided value. I've proven myself to be helpful, at least in that instance. So they're more likely to refer. And now it's fresh in their head because they feel good and they're pain free and they're functional. So I ask after I've delivered. That's one action that I think almost anybody, if you're working with somebody and they get better, and they should, and if they don't, refer. But if they get better, ask for the referral. It's at that point when it's okay to ask, and it's easier to ask at that point than to just randomly ask people. What's your
Yeah, and
action, Ashley? Or sorry,
yeah,
what do you
I
have
will
to
give
put
an
into
action, but
action?
I love that one. I will do that with clients as well. And
Mhm.
it might not be near the end where they're becoming discharged, but if they say something really positive, yeah, feel free to tell your friends and refer them on. Or if they specifically mention a client or a friend, sorry, if they specifically mention a friend of theirs that they think should come and see me, like, yeah, let's book them in. Do you want to do that today? If it's a family member, or here's my card. Give them my number. Tell them that they can book in through whichever methods. I hand out my cell phone number. That is a boundary I'm willing to have out there. Not all therapists want to do that, but that's just one of the ways that I work. And so you have to ask for those referrals, because if you don't directly ask for them, then you're not going to get them, because it doesn't become, like you said, top of mind. And it's not rude to ask for that. You want to be careful that you're not demanding it. You want to be careful that you're not asking a client who hasn't had good care. But when they say something positive, just like if you're going to
Yeah.
ask for a review in any other job, when they say something positive, ask for that referral. Hey, tell your friends and families. Um, the action item that I would do to obtain the next referral is, um, we've all seen those memes where you go to a party and it's like you're an athletic therapist or a physical therapist or whatever, and you go to a party. Do you, one, tell them what your real job is? Two, make up a fake job? Or three, change the subject? Uh, totally your prerogative. I have a hard time not saying what I am. So when I do say I'm an athletic therapist and inevitably somebody will ask me about an injury, I will say something along the lines of that sounds really awesome. I might engage for a minute or two, and then I'll say, if you want to book an appointment, like I'll pull out my phone and say, I can book you in right now. And um, 75% of the time they will book in. About 10% of the time they will then cancel. But
Uh-huh.
that is a way to avoid having to spend your leisure time and time that is supposed to be yours having fun. That's a way to avoid working in that time, and a way to get that client booked in, and a way to get that referral and set some boundaries. Because it once you get into a place where you're constantly giving advice at a party, it's hard to get out of that. So that is your way to get out of it. So our two action items are when you have given clients a positive experience in the clinic and they say something positive about it, and you've provided that value, ask them to refer their friends and family. And the second action item that you can take away from this is when somebody asks you for, a consult and you're just out and about at a party, out for coffee, whatever it is, pull out your phone and ask them if they'd like to book in for an appointment. And that will deter them from your free, wonderful advice and get more business in your door.
Yes. I'm going to slide one thing in there about the boundaries thing. As a new therapist, that's much harder to do when you're trying to build a referral base. And I think that's okay as long as you understand that when you start, um, suggesting different things for somebody to try, which is providing that value, right? Uh, your work life balance, it's gone. Um, and I used to do that a lot.
Me
I
too.
don't do that anymore.
Me too.
So I can appreciate what you're saying, Ashley, to put up that it's really important to put up that boundary. And at the same time, when I started, I think you do it because it's just interesting. We love doing it, right? But then you get sucked into the vortex of giving more free advice than what is reasonable. And I think that that's something, and I know you and I have both gone down that rabbit hole. So I think sometimes it's finding that balance between giving a little bit of advice to create some of that trust without selling yourself short, because you've done a lot of work to be the professional that you are, but also you're trying to build up a client base. So that's a hard balance. I'm with you now. I usually say I can't actually give you any recommendations without doing a proper assessment. Let's get you in the clinic and take a look.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you can think of it like gambling, set your limits. Where you decide what you're okay with and what you're not okay with. And um because it is important and we shouldn't be doing an entire free appointment with somebody at a party for so many different reasons, right? Like,
Yeah.
but with just the reason of you took a lot of time to learn what you know and your advice is so valuable. So, if you want to give and totally up to every single person and their own devices, but if you want to give, one little recommendation and say, but I can't actually without doing an assessment, I don't know. So let's get you booked in. But
Yeah.
it is important to use that as an advertisement opportunity, quotation marks there, but
Yes.
also to try and get that person in the clinic.
Yes.
But it's
That's
totally up
usually
to
my
you.
approach.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Usually my approach is give a little bit. So I'm essentially loosely convincing them that I know what I'm talking about. A small amount. Have you tried, I don't know, a tensor, some stretching, whatever.
Yeah.
Do you know what cat cow is? Go Google it. Something like that. And then I'll give the line that I can't give any more advice unless I do a proper assessment. And for me, that's my barrier, and it's very easy for me to put that down because it's true. And
Yeah.
if you stick to what's true and what's honest, it's very easy to get that information out. And because you're not hustling, you're not lying, you're not like, "Oh, well, I don't want anything to do with you right now because I'm doing this." You're just being honest. I want to give you the best service, but I can't in this context. So this is what we have to do. And people usually respond very well to that because you're showing that you genuinely care about them, and you're maintaining your boundaries for your health and sanity. And that's also really important.
Yes. Yes. I agree with that. Um, we're gonna wrap this up because I feel like we could talk about this forever.
Mhm.
So, um, today we talked about the importance of a referral, how it can become that bread and butter of your practice. Nikki was talking about, how 50% of her referrals are from family and friends. And it's from that word of mouth. That word of mouth is so important to get those referrals in. Um, we talked about how that referral chain can turn into a network and it can turn into a web, and you can start getting clients who are referred from multiple sources who don't even know each other. And so it's important to plant those seeds, plant them early on, and over time those seeds are going to grow. And so I think we alluded to this. If you plant that seed early on, that referral might come out 5 years later. It takes time. And then we
Yeah, it
talked
takes
about the
time for
scare.
things to grow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
We talked about that scarcity mindset and how it is very important for interprofessional referrals and referring out when you feel like you can help your client more by sending them somewhere else, and how that can build trust with your clients. And we went on to talking about a little bit into marketing and the action items. So um, you want to provide value and then ask for that referral. So if you just ask for that referral right off the bat, you might not get it. It might become a negative outcome. But if you provide that value to that client first and then ask them to refer their friends and family, that can be really positive. And when clients say positive things, again, at that point is a good time to ask for a referral. And then how to set those boundaries when you're out and about, and how to change those boundary stepping moments into possible clients and referrals. Anything you want
exactly.
to add to that?
Nope, it's great.
No, this is a great conversation. Thank you for joining us, Nikki. If anybody wants to get a hold of you or kind of check you out on social media, where can they find you?
On Facebook, just Revolution Rehab. On Instagram, we're revolution_rehab. And the website is revolutionrehab.ca.
Perfect.
If you
And
Google
I,
us, we're right there.
yeah, you are. I
Yeah,
will have those linked in the show notes.
awesome.
Have a great day.
Take care. It's so great to talk to you.
You too.